Hello and welcome to Real Talk with Dr. Laura. I am here on today, gathered with some great friends here, and we gather at the table to talk about faith, life, and everything in between. So I'm excited today that I have with me at the table two amazing guests, a mother and daughter duo that I've known for a very long time. And I'm going to actually pause and allow them to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about on today. We'll go with the mother, and then we'll go with the
My prayer was not answered. Okay, well, my name is Keisha, and like she said, I've known Dr. Laura for a long time. I'm from Redeeming Love. I am a teacher. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, you said enough. That's good. What you said is very good. That's all right. It's all good. We don't have to tell it all. I had a pastor that said, you don't have to tell it all. So it's okay. You're not telling it all. You told us enough. So now we're gonna head over to this beautiful daughter, so she can introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kiana, or as some others know me as Dr. K. I am a member of Dr. Laura's church, Rhema Christian Center Church. Yay. I am not entirely sure for how long, but it's been a while now.
It's been a while.
But I've known her even when we went to our original home church. So it's been a lot of years. She has now become a spiritual mother of mine, and I'm just happy to be here on the show.
Yay! And I'm so delighted to have them. So I want to start. We have a really good topic today. And I want to start by saying that when we think about where we live at in America here, many people are having to navigate and learn how to navigate singleness and what sometimes people consider to be in a couple's world. Actually, in 2023 is when the last statistics are showing, it says 117.6 million people are single, and some by choice, amen, some intentional, and others are waiting for the process and, to be connected with someone as a lifetime partner. So we're looking to have a conversation today around actually Dr. Kiana. She brought to our attention this book, and you all may have seen and heard this book by Krista Smith. It's called Singled Out in a Couple's World. So we're going to have some conversation around that particular topic, especially what a great time. We just passed Valentine's Day, right? And, sometimes, when you are, single, sometimes, people can think, oh, I don't want to go out by myself. It's Valentine's Day and et cetera. And some people choose to do so. But I want to share something about a time my husband and I went to, we were on a cruise. And on cruises, they always have the game called Love and Marriage, right? So you know the show. So they invite couples and they ask questions, and then they decide who's going to be on the stage to answer the questions. Mm-hmm. Long story short, the last time we went, last year, we went to this particular session. There were like more singles in the session than there was couples. And I was like, wait a minute, I was like, what's happening here? Because you want to hear the responses and where they're answering questions. And it was hilarious to me. I was like, oh my goodness. But so I just want to ask a question. I mean, is that like a scenario when people can sometimes feel as if, they're singled out in a couple's world? It's like, well, they're doing all these things and it's kind of feel like it's couples related. I have been married for many years, over 25 years, thank God. Yeah, and I'm thankful. I have a wonderful husband. I've been blessed, and so I can't speak to singleness as if it was yesterday. Not that I wasn't single, because I was at some point, but God connected my husband and I, and we were actually, interestingly enough, we were both a part of a singles ministry. That's where we met. We met in church at a singles ministry that we were attending, and I didn't go into the singles ministry like, I'm coming in here looking for me a husband. That was not on my agenda. I was new to the city that I was in. And I was like, hey, what a great way to meet other people. So I went and, we would kind of hang out and just do fun stuff. And interestingly enough, someone actually created a play, and my husband and I was in the play. Not only were we in the play, but we actually played a couple in the play. So long story short, we ended up being together. Amen. Forever and evermore. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that. But I wanted to, of course, I have a few questions before we get to the book today. But I wanted to ask. There is a question I wanted to ask in reference to kind of singleness, right? One of the questions was, do you feel like singleness is a calling, a season? What is your experience? Are there times where you feel like you just want to get out of this category, or are you okay where you are now? So I'm going to allow them to talk. Naturally, we have, as I said, a mother and a daughter duo. So both of them have different generations, right? Both of them have different experiences, but we want to open up an opportunity for them to share, because I do know while we are talking to what will be the masses, other people will experience the same things that you all are experiencing. So let's start with the mama first.
So as far as it being a calling, I don't know if I can say it's a calling.
Okay.
I know I've been in different, I guess, experiences.
Okay.
Of course, I've had what they call BC, singleness.
Okay.
Before
Right.
Christ.
Right.
Because of course I have a daughter, but I have never been married. So that was a difference of navigating that. And then of course with single parenting, I was not one of the single parents that wanted to kind of date.
Okay.
So I really didn't date for the pretty much almost the longevity of her life. I just didn't want to have her see revolving people in and out.
Mm-hmm.
That was just mine. I'm not saying anything about anybody else, but that was just my birth. But then after her growing up, I did date.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. I did meet someone within the church. Did not work out because in your singleness, what I've learned after, you want to be grounded, and you don't want it to try to make it like it completes you to be with someone.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be complete in Christ, and let Him fill all those spaces so you can be whole. And then when you meet someone, then they'll be whole. And when you come together, I think it will work better. And be more beneficial, and not to compromise your Christian values. So in that case, initially I might have compromised a little bit of Christian values, and it did not work. But in this, where I am now, I am content with, it's okay to be single. You can go when you want to go. You don't really have anyone to question or answer to. And I don't mean like answer to like in bad terms, but of course, husband and wife are submissive to each other. So I'm just content where I'm just wanting to be with a community of like-minded believers. And I think sometimes that's where it gets lost, even especially in the church. Because, as you were part of a singles ministry,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things in the ministries, you'll see a lot of married couples doing a lot of things. Like even now, I serve in many ministries or in different various life groups, and I'm like one or two of the only single ones with a bunch of married people. Actually, on Valentine's Day, I had a life group, but it was nice. The married couples told us their stories of how they met, and I enjoy learning how people meet and how God had that divine connection. So that's mainly it. I think if you have friends and community and are fulfilling like acts where the community of believers come together and you can kind of do stuff and talk to each other and you don't feel isolated,
Mm-hmm.
then I think in your singleness you can still be whole.
Mm-hmm. That is great. I want to ask one question, so I'm gonna ask Dr. Keon to hold on to the question. I know, but I want to ask you something because you said something I thought was key, and that was in reference to when Kiana was growing up. That you didn't bring a lot of people, like a revolving door.
Yeah.
Numerous people that she would have to meet, and be wondering if this is going to be, my stepfather's. So, can you just take a moment to talk about the importance of that? Because I know you mentioned that was just you and it don't have to, but that is quite important.
Yes.
It is important who you allow to come before your kids. That's important because, it can be confusing for young children growing up, trying to navigate that themselves. So if you can just share a moment, it's not judging. We don't judge,
Yeah.
but it's sharing insight and wisdom
Yeah.
around, bringing up young people, especially before people that are really maybe a stranger until mommy says, the Lord said it's okay,
Right.
right? So I just want you to take a moment and just share
Yes. And
the importance of
as
that.
Dr. Laura said, it's not a judgmental, not saying that if you're single, you don't date. My personal thing was just, as she stated, the importance of not seeing different people, and then if it doesn't work, then that connection is lost between the child as well.
Mhm.
So you're not the only one feeling
Right.
the loss.
That's right.
I
And that's
also
important.
was very important on the safety of who I had around my daughter.
Absolutely.
And that's with sons too.
Mhm.
You just have to be careful with, because there are, predators and
That's right.
pedophiles and
It's like sheep's
things.
and wolves clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, wolves and sheep's
Yes,
clothing.
I actually
Yes.
saw a traumatic movie about that. The woman, was dating, but then they even got married, and the husband was messing around with the daughter. So
Right.
you just have to really, really be very careful,
Mhm.
because my view,
Mhm.
my child was my gift, and I wanted
Mhm.
to make sure that I, preserve the gift that God gave me,
Mhm.
and didn't let anything happen that, I didn't have to, willingly.
Yes.
So
I love that. That what you just said. That's a whole show. Preserving the gift. But we might have to come back there in May during Mother's Day time. That's a whole session right by itself. And people can understand the importance
Yes.
of the gift that God has given to them. But we're gonna head over to Dr. Kiana right now. Amen. Because we have a lot to say, but we don't have a lot of time to say it in. So we're gonna give her an opportunity to share.
Yeah. So, with the question of singleness being a calling or not, I actually do think that singleness can be a calling.
Okay.
Even
That's
with
called.
Paul,
That's right.
he was called to be single
Right.
after, the Lord took him on the Damascus road.
That's right.
So, I think some people do have the calling of being single, but if you have the desire to be married, then I don't think, even though you might be in the season of singleness, right? There's a season of being single as well.
That's right.
Just because
you like let it be a season, Lord.
That's what I'm praying.
This real talk. This real talk. Let it be a season, Lord.
Please, Lord.
Spring come.
People are like, spring come.
Yeah. So
That's it.
I think that even, if you're in a season of singleness, and even if it feels like it's going on forever, if you have the desire to be married, I do not feel that you are called to be single, because the Lord gives us those desires, right? We have them, but He ultimately, blesses us with those desires, and so He's not going to bless you with that desire to then be like, oh no,
right,
you're actually supposed to just be single. No, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So I think that's that. But to the second question of, when you are in that season of singleness, do you sometimes want to just go be out of it? Yeah. I can't. Like that's me sometimes.
Right.
But it's really taking time to self-reflect and understand why you're feeling that way. So like for me, I know with, everything that has been going on and, with my job and moving constantly and just the nature of trying to get back to really being who I know I am to be.
Yes.
I'm not ready necessarily for like a full-blown relationship
and that's good. You're being honest with yourself.
For marriage in the sense of biblical, godly marriage.
Right.
But I'm not gonna lie and not say it would be nice to cuddle up with someone every now and again.
Right.
And just have that kind of we friends with little benefits. Not too far.
That's
me, but
your mother's sitting over.
Yeah, I'm like,
I had to look over.
Not too far.
I had to look over at the mother.
She's like,
she did the air quotes and she said with benefits. You okay, mother?
Some benefits, right?
We've had that discussion.
But no. So I digress. But yes, I mean, those feelings do come, right? Like I said, God created Adam and Eve. He created man and woman to be together and be helpmates for each other. So we innately have where we want to have that connection and be with someone. And so, certain times it'll be more, heavier than others.
Right.
And, what's going on in the world or with your friends and everybody sees you get married or they boot up. Like, all of that.
Okay.
Like all of that, right?
Okay, honey, we booed out. I'm liking that term. Honey, we booed out. Okay, I like that. I'm going to use that.
And just to get back, as I'm Generation X, she is what you're not millennial.
I'm Y.
Why? Okay, yeah, I'll be like, why? But anyway, I'm just joking. But back to the friends with benefits. She's not talking about having sex personally, but even in that,
she wants to be clear.
She's like, let me be clear, my child.
She wants to make this very clear what the air quotes meant. But I don't know if y'all caught that.
But even in that, we have a different perspective because in my younger days, and I don't even say even younger days because I was like 30-something, 40. I don't know when I did date. I thought that I was strong enough, and I had been Christian for a long time. Hadn't been with anyone for like 18 years. I thought I was strong enough and girded enough to come close to the fire without getting burned.
Right.
And I did we just gonna lay together
and cuddle up
and we're just kiss while we're laying, and eventually you get that close to the fire, you're gonna burn because your body and your mind, the lust just goes. And I was a girded, mature Christian. So I think that too, that sometimes in these days Christians kind of bend the convictions or twist the word to kind of fit what they want for their flesh. Because if you go Bible, it says no fornication, abstain, not for things that fire in your bosom, which means to say, if you kissing heavenly and it's gonna raise up some emotions and you about to lust, then you might not want to do that.
Right.
So
I'm glad you brought that up because actually that really was leading us into my next question. And my next question is about red flags, right? Red flags are very, very important. And I often think about the talk show that Kurt Franklin and his wife and his daughter have. Tammy and Carrington are their names. And so normally they play the little commercial. The commercial says it's on Sirius radio. And they say, they'll say this little snippet that they played. It says, if your boo is trying to keep you a secret, that ain't love, boo. That ain't love. So that's a red flag. If your boo is trying to keep you a secret, that's not love, boo. That's not love. So I want to talk more about red flags because even what Keisha just said about snuggling. So where do you see the red flags in that scenario, but also when you are dating? Because Dr. Kiana and I, we have had many conversations around, as she's praying for a spouse, even writing down what you're looking for, because that's one of the things I did. I wrote down, this is my prayer. I'm praying for this and this and this. And she hasn't gone back to yet. And sometimes when somebody, because sometimes a counterfeit can enter your life, and you get all kind of hooked up with the counterfeit. And if you're not careful, not go back to what you prayed for, and it's like, oh, he only got like one thing on the list, but I'm trying to go, all the way in, I'm getting too close to the fire. So I want to talk about red flags, and then after that, we're going to get to, because I want to make sure before we leave here that we have Dr. Kiana and Sister Keisha share something from this wonderful book written by Krista Smith. So let's talk a moment about red flags, and then from there, we're going to head to the book by this author.
Well, there can be several red flags. You just have to, one, be discerning, and really open to not trying to put a green flag where a red flag is.
Don't put a green. I might need to write that. That sounds like a sermon. Don't put a green flag. That sounds like a sermon.
Even in my maturity,
yes.
Although the Lord was showing a lot of red flags, I kind of, in my own, what's the word? Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not
unto your own understanding.
In my own understanding, I was just negating a lot of the stuff that I saw. Because it'd been a long time since I had dated. My daughter had prayed, "Oh, somebody's gonna find you when I'm leaving."
That's so sweet.
But I wasn't specific.
You wasn't, and that's true then. So somebody's still gonna find
specific.
Next time, put a number.
And we almost had a similar testimony. We were in a play together and all that good stuff.
Oh Lord.
But like I said, initially, I was kind of blaming the other, but it wasn't. It was me. It was my fault. I mean, I saw the red flags. God showed me, and I just did not listen to what God said. And when you're not obedient,
right? This is what happens.
Is better than sacrifice.
That's right.
So, I just, and once you kind of do one compromise, it's easier to compromise, and the less and less you hear from the Holy Spirit, and you start really walking in your own flesh. And so that's what happened. I won't go into details of all the red flags.
Well, okay, yeah.
But
we don't have time today.
Yeah, we don't. You catch my book.
Because some people need the details.
I might write a book one day.
Some people they don't catch it. Sometimes they need it. They'll be like, "Oh, that's a red flag. That's a whole red flag." You just surrendered.
If you are dating a Christian male, I mean, of course, men, they're sight oriented. Yeah, they're going to be, have that lust as well. But if they're trying to be sustained in the Lord, and they really care about you, and you're trying to be sustained in the Lord, then they should care about your soul,
right? And
care about you, not as an object,
right,
but as a child of God. And so if they're not treating you as the Lord wants them to treat you, as a child of God,
right,
then that's a red flag. Like she said, if they're trying to hide you, and you might be the side boo.
That's well,
I don't like.
That's another session.
That's another session.
That's another session.
If every time you come, they're like, "Oh, you can come on and come over to my house, and it's all dark, and or they're trying to give you a drink, and
or you can never go to their house.
Or you can never go to their
That's
house.
something-
Yeah.
That's a red flag.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely
Yeah.
a red flag.
Yes.
So
So yeah, all those there's many that but you have to just ask God. And I will say this: I was praying and asking God if it was not. Now
Mhm.
I did not listen initially, but
Mhm.
I'm grateful that the Lord loves me enough,
Mhm.
love me enough, even in my I will say it, stupidity.
Mhm.
That He kept showing me until he once just had to slap me in the face, and there was no other way I could see anything else but stop.
Oh, right.
Like
So
that's
you
not
see
it.
exactly what you're saying. That's
This
right.
is not the person.
That's right.
So,
And God does that sometimes. I'll
Yeah.
tell you, He has to.
Yes.
For some of us, you know.
but you go,
But-
so you can't keep trickling down like what is it, Mary and Alice in Wonderland, to keep following that rabbit down the
I
rabbit
know.
hole. Which
Yeah.
I was following the rabbit down the rabbit
Mhm.
hole and willingly doing it.
Mhm.
And when you come out, you'll look once you come back to yourself.
Mhm.
You can be a prodigal at 40.
Right.
I was a prodigal. That's what
Amen.
happened.
That's all right.
But when you come back,
Yeah.
then
But you come
look.
back wiser,
Yes.
and you come
Yeah.
back with a
So-
testimony. You come back able, standing in the place where you can share the story.
Right. So
Amen.
now
Of how
what
God helped you make it
I
over.
try to tell my daughter, hey,
Right.
I've seen this before.
Right. I know. And you know what happens is sometimes people, they got to walk sometimes their own road.
I was about to say.
Right.
There's
So
a way for parent from the children's
Point of
side.
view. Okay. Come on and
or
tell
the
it.
parents.
Come on and tell it.
Or the aunties
Uh-huh.
or the uncles.
Right.
We don't necessarily want to be preached to. That's just like when you were younger. You didn't want to be preached to. But there's a way to give that wisdom and advice and guidance, but not be like, you need to do. No, like, hey, I've had this experience. It didn't go so well.
Mhm.
I really don't want you to fall into that, but you are going to make the choices that you make.
Mhm.
Just know I'm here to support you. I'm here to
Mhm.
care and love you no matter what.
Mhm.
That's it.
Right.
Now, if they take it or they don't come back later.
Right.
So did you hear me?
Right.
Did you do the thing? All right, I'm gonna tell you again. No.
And you can imagine the parent that hears that they're shaking in the boot like, oh my God.
Like, say it once.
No, that might be.
We hear you. Trust me, we hear you. But we are going to ultimately make our own decisions, just like you did.
Right.
So that's just my 2 cents from the child side.
Just keep praying, like Matthew West said.
Just keep praying. Mothers,
Don't stop
fathers,
praying.
Right. So I want to take a moment and talk. I want you to share a little bit about what you've gained, the insight that you've gained from reading Krista Smith's book, Singled Out in the Couples World. Very interesting book. She has a lot of insight. She has an interesting story.
Wow.
So I'm gonna allow Dr. Kiana to share a little bit of what she's learned from this particular book.
This book, just to start out, is a phenomenal book, and it's geared to men and women,
Mhm.
anyone who is single in today's society,
Good.
because today, like I said, everyone is booed up and they
Right.
trying to be booed up.
Right.
They will force it in any kind of way. And so as Christians, we know that, as the man, you are pursuing and
Mhm.
trying to find the woman that God has for you.
Yes.
But as the woman, you are waiting for
Mhm.
God to send that man so that then you have that godly covenant between the two of you.
Right.
So she talks about, her story of, waiting until she was 39 and like
39.
3 months before she turned 40, I think is when she got married.
Mhm.
But she talks about like all of, just all that had to offer, right?
Mhm.
And being 19 and in college, and
Mhm.
she liked this guy, and he ended up getting with her friend,
Right.
and she was kind of sad, and
Mhm.
all this different stuff. But as she got older, she started to gain more wisdom and see and get insight as to how to live single.
Mhm.
And one of the key things that really, really touched, or I should say two things, that really touched me, first and foremost, when she was 19 and she had that experience with, the guy liking somebody else, it happens. But she said she prayed the prayer basically of,
beautiful.
Take my heart, Lord, and keep it guarded until you want me to give it away.
That's
and
right.
then return it so that I then can.
That's right. Which is beautiful.
And it's so beautiful. I read that and was like, Lord, I'm praying this too. Take my
Lord,
heart, Lord, guard it.
That's right.
Keep it right.
It's a beautiful prayer.
So beautiful.
It is.
And so, she was saying that, it's not going to be just a complete switch, right? It's a daily going about this prayer, right? Because, like I said, you see people, they're together, you feel like, oh man, why not me? Or there's just different circumstances that bring up that feeling. But then the second thing this was like really like, woo, Lord. She was saying how, she's still going about things. She was a little older at that point, like in her early 30s or so. And, she had been saying, Lord, take my heart and trying to live right, doing all of that. But she still had this like intense desire to get married. And like, she really wanted it. And she said one day she was, in her time with him, with God. And he asked her the question of, if you were to never get married, would I be enough? This is God talking to her.
Right. It's a very deep question.
Very, very
deep question. We're going to pause, and I want you to repeat that question again.
Yes. So
very deep question.
The question was from the Lord asking, and this is to anyone, right? If you never got married, would he be enough? And she had to really take stock. And she said, no, like, to be completely honest, you're not.
She was being transparent with the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's what he was asking for her to be transparent.
And so, as you're reading the book, then she poses the question to you. But it's funny because even before getting to that point, he already was kind of getting me there and like pointing me in that direction, which is great. But I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to answer that question.
Can I answer this at the end of the day? We see what's going to be by the end, Lord.
But when I was reading it, and after having read her experience and like what she felt, I was like, okay, if I'm really honest, in that moment, no, he wasn't. And she kind of stated how it was kind of an eye opener because then she had to be like, okay, it's ultimately his story to write anyway. And he has the timing of how it all should go.
That's right.
And so there's nothing that I can do to make it go faster.
That's right.
All I can do is sit back and trust in him with the whole process.
That's right.
And be content in that. And there's a chapter called being content while yet contending. So being content in that season of singleness, even though you still want to be pursued, still want to have that desire to be married. And so that was very, very profound for me. And, it's something that I am constantly going about because like even with that, it's a daily thing that you got to keep going back over. Like you got to constantly be like, Lord, I trust you. Even if in this moment, I'm a little doubtful, but I still trust you. I do have faith. It might be the size of the mustard seed, but I do trust you, right? So, with that, it is very challenging, I will say, even being a younger Christian single woman. It's hard. It's so hard. And as you get older and you know your body and everything, and you just like, Lord, why?
Look, I got married at 30, so I wasn't married like at 18. So I fully understand. I understand. I was single for a while. I've been married for a while now, but I was single for a while. I too was, as many of us have been connected to what you can almost call knuckleheads sometimes, and you go in, blind, and sometimes you get blindsided, But that indeed is a very, very powerful book, and Keisha, if you can hold that up again.
Oh, yeah.
So there may be people that are interested, and we're gonna hashtag Miss Smith, and so that way she can kind of hear her sharing and promoting her book, her great work that she's wrote, and just
I
the
just
experience.
wanted to add, so this book takes you through like the whole gamut, right? So like even once you've gotten to the place of being content while you're still yet contending, then like later throughout the book or like towards the end, it talks about, when you are kind of getting into that place of moving to the next level, which could be dating or marriage or anything like that. Taking risk in relationship and creating space emotionally for someone else,
right?
Different things like that. So it really covers the full spectrum of, I'm still like really deep in that season of singleness too.
Right.
Okay,
I'm still waiting.
I've been there, and now the next level is coming, right? But it really does help you to reevaluate where you are in that season of singleness, but then to say, okay, I need to get a deeper relationship with Christ first, because
which is key.
That's the number one thing. That's
right.
the starting point and foundation of even starting a relationship with someone else. You have to have that relationship with Christ built up first.
That's right. And that is key. So as always, we have a lot to say, but we have run out of time. I was feeling like, before we close, I was feeling like another talk show I watched, and they're looking at the director as they're telling them, you feel that pressure for, we are a few minutes past time. But listen, as I said, we have a lot to say, but we're out of time. But listen, on the page, we'll continue the conversation. Put your questions in, your comments to the conversation that we had here today. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to Real Talk on the Dr. Laura Show, live at 5. And we hope that you enjoyed our time together. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday at 5 p.m. on the Dr. Laura Show. See you then. Have a great day.